Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Just Start Entrepreneurial Student Panel today. Thank you so much for being here. This event is hosted by the J. Orin Edson Entrepreneur and Innovation Institute here at ASU. Edson E&I provides free resources for ASU students, faculty, staff, and community members to bring their ideas to life and explore the possibilities of entrepreneurship. Please see the chat for any additional details and the links to learn more. Today, we are going to hear from current ASU students about their entrepreneurial journeys and what resources have helped them along the way. There will also be time at the end for a Q&A from the audience. So if you have any questions for any of the panelists, please submit them using the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. To introduce ourselves, my name is Quinn Stalka.
And I'm Amani Jaramoja.
And we are current ASU students who serve as Entrepreneurship Catalysts. The Entrepreneurship Catalysts are a team of students who help other students work through their ideas and get connected to entrepreneurial resources at ASU. If you're interested in connecting with an Entrepreneurship Catalyst like myself or Amani, please see the chat for the link to the website where you can schedule a meeting with us.
So to get started on today's panel, we have Angela Sharda, who is currently pursuing her degree in fashion design here at ASU. She also has a bachelor's in communication studies from ASU and an MBA from the University of Phoenix. Her venture is a creative marketing agency and fashion company focused on channeling passion and creativity to provide ideation, creative counsel, and strategic guidance for brands and companies. We also have Savannah Prieta, who is a junior at ASU, majoring in computer information systems and tech entrepreneurship and management. He's working on two ventures, Cell App and Philanthrope. He'll correct me. Cell App provides mobile network virtual operator services as a peer-to-peer internet sharing company with the goal of recycling and repurposing cellular internet data. Help me out.
It's philanthropy.
.org is a SaaS company using AI-driven platform to redesign corporate sustainability. Next, we have Savannah Prieta. Savannah graduated from ASU with a bachelor's degree in social justice and human rights with certificates in cross-sector leadership and Peace Corps prep. She is beginning her master's at ASU in social justice and human rights this fall. She is currently a Clinton Global Initiative Scholar working on implementing a social change project, addressing the high rates in South Phoenix. Her social change project, Beyond the Garden, assists people in South Phoenix post-incarceration to provide them with job, suitable skills, training. Last but not least, we have James Cook, and James is a senior at ASU, completing his degree in mechanical engineering and pursuing a concentration in Homeland Security. He has two startups, Progressive Path LLC and V-Train LLC, both of which he began all while being a student here at ASU. Progressive Path is an alternative refrigeration system that can create ice using only the principles of thermodynamics. Okay, no electricity. His other startup, V-Train, uses VR and AR-based simulations to highly train and certify war fighters and increase their readiness levels. So,
thank you, Mommy, for those intros. It was great to hear a little bit about you guys and where you have come from. So now we're going to start by asking you guys some questions. So to begin, we're going to start with Angela, then we're going to move to Devarshan, then Savannah, then James. And we're going to stick with that order when we're asking you guys questions, if you could keep answering in that way. So let's start with our first question, which is, please tell us about yourself, your venture, and then the ASU resource that has helped you along your entrepreneurship journey.
Well, thanks so much for that question, Quinn. I'm so happy to be here and to share my story because I think it is definitely a unique and a different path than most traditional students. I'm an adult reentry college student, and I'm coming to ASU for fashion design. when I went to ASU, that degree program wasn't offered. So I think, timing is always everything, but I'm now in the second year of the program, and my business that I'm focused on is an upcycling business for fashion designers and artists to be able to join the gig economy and connect with other buyers, other creators who want to upcycle their clothing. I think from learning about the fashion industry, I learned how wasteful it is, and so I wanted to do something to find a solution to the problem. And I would say that ASU, being part of the Venture Devils program, has really given me the support I need in terms of the programming, the events, the opportunities, networking, access to Startup Tree and other students who might be interested in working in the project as well. So it's just been a plethora of resources.
Thank you, Angela. Devarshan, you can go ahead and start answering whenever you're ready.
Yes, thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Devarshan Patel, and I founded Cellulab when I was in my freshman year of college. So coming from a developing nation, internet reach was always an issue for me, and the pricing of the internet was a huge concern. And after coming to United States, I found it completely different, that the internet reach or the capacity of the broadband is not the problem, but the pricing is. So the internet service providers charge very higher fee for the usage of the internet. That's why we wanted to solve this problem through sharing the excess capacity from the sellers of internet data and giving them to the buyers for a cheaper rate. And that's how we make internet affordable, accessible, and at a reasonable price. And Philanthropy, I joined Philanthropy at a social innovation startup lab at ASU. I joined the technical team at Philanthropy, and then we entered Venture Devils. We got some funding, and now we recently launched our MVP, and now we are at pre-revenue stage, and we are growing quickly in the space of corporate sustainability. So yes, excited for what's there in upcoming times.
Thank you. Savannah, go ahead.
Hi, yes, my name's Savannah Prieta. I am starting my master's at ASU in social justice and human rights this year. My venture and my project is still in the works, but right now, as it's getting started, the idea behind it and the concept is to create and provide free and accessible workshops for people who have been previously incarcerated, specifically in South Phoenix. And to assist them in suitable job training, because a lot of the times the training that is offered or is offered at the moment is not suitable to different jobs that are available to people that have a criminal record. So that's where my project comes in, to assist those people and to be able to, again, provide them something that's suitable and that they can use in the workforce.
Thank you. And then James, whenever you're ready.
There we go. Yes, thanks, Quinn and Amani, for having us today. Pleasure to be here alongside Savannah, Devarshan, and Angela. James Cook's my name, obviously. Concentration in Homeland Security with my mechanical engineering degree at ASU. Taking all online classes as I've moved to Washington, D.C. Technically, I live in Alexandria, but basically that means Washington, D.C. to everybody else. I work in national security here in the Capitol, and both my startups were created out of ASU, and one of them, Progressive Path. Yes, Amani, it's a nerd word. It's thermodynamics, basically heat transfer and things like that. Basically, we couldn't create ice, so that's something I developed out of ASU during a humanitarian engineering project. And so we have sites in Burkina Faso in Africa, in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and in the Caribbean as well. And those are used to create ice for food security initially, but we found out that we could pivot that and use that for medicine, blood donations, breast milk, all kinds of things like that. And then eventually preserving the shelf life of the COVID-19 vaccine there on the ground. And then V-Train LLC is for, it's an AR, VR platform, basically simulation training for the military, mainly for maintainers of aircraft and other things, so they can do it safely and in a remote environment, so they don't hurt themselves or hurt multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment. And there's actually a third one I'm working on now, but it's not a registered business, and that's an autonomous remote heat detection system, basically thermal imaging. But yes, all these things kind of started out of ASU. I'm in Venture Devils myself, and I would say that ASU has helped me along there. I've been able to leverage all the tools that ASU has given me in the support with the mentorship in the Venture Devils program. Absolutely the requirements to be able to become a Venture Devil, with making your pitch deck, your website, and your EIN number, like all these things that you need to have to be able to eventually compete in a pitch competition with Venture Devils, which is incredible. I ended up getting funding. I got second place in mine, which was amazing, to get thousands of dollars, no questions asked. Obviously, everyone wants funding for the business. That's key. And then for me as well, the Innovation Advancement Clinic I applied for, which is basically the law school at ASU, and that you get to partner with 3 law students and the director, who's a currently practicing attorney. And they helped me with my mutual non-disclosure agreement, my IP assignments, and my products liability analysis as well, which was huge because that's a hole that I needed to fill because I didn't have the experience with that. And with that, I will end it.
So I guess we're going to be following that same order. So I guess we can start off with Angela again. What do you think makes this new generation of entrepreneurs unique?
Well, I would say, the last couple of years due to the pandemic has definitely seen, technology grow exponentially. We saw, a lot of innovation in the marketplace with new business to consumer companies start up, new mobile apps for food delivery, the whole gamut. And so I think that acceleration has really empowered this new generation of entrepreneurs to focus on new solutions for problems that are happening now. I think that technology is definitely going to be the key to, leveraging any solutions. So whether it's AR like James startup, or it's 3D print design that some of the wearable tech companies, there's just a lot of innovation, especially here in Phoenix. So I think being an entrepreneur here in Phoenix, in Arizona, it's really important to take a look at the marketplace and see what companies are moving here, see what industries are growing, because you hear about that a lot in the news if you follow the Phoenix Business Journal. So I would say look at industry publications, whatever industry you're interested in, read those, on a daily basis so you can have a sense and a pulse of what's going on.
I completely agree with Angela on the technology aspect and everything she said. So there are 2 things that I think about the new generation of entrepreneurs that are unique. First is they always try to merge and intersect between different sectors and industries, such as technology and business, such as engineering and commercializing the engineering part of things. I'm currently doing my dual majors in computer information systems and technology entrepreneurship management. So it's also one of the things that ASU has invented on its own about promoting students on their journey of intersecting the business and the technology aspect, and also like making software and then selling software. This is a whole journey that ASU enables. ASU helps enable the students. The second thing I see that it's unique about the next generation of entrepreneurs is taking risks and also taking calculated risks. So when students or when aspiring entrepreneurs are taking calculated risks, they can take the risk again if they fail on the first risk that they have taken. So that's why I think these 2 things are really unique about the new generation of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what everyone said thus far. And to add to a bit more to the conversation of what I think is unique about specifically our generation of entrepreneurs, I think that we can all acknowledge that like our generation faces like unique issues and challenges that previous generations haven't. The first one that comes to mind is climate change. And I think that specifically to be an entrepreneur in a time that there are so many challenges, yet still to be optimistic and again, take those calculated risks and have the belief that there can be better and that it's possible through new ventures, I think is what makes our generation unique.
Yes, times four. I agree with what everyone said. Piggybacking specifically on Savannah's there with the climate change, I think this generation of entrepreneurs are much more motivated by purpose. And obviously the purpose of most organizations that are entrepreneurship in nature is for profit, right? We all are trying to make money, unless it's nonprofit, but we don't need to get into the nitty gritty there. Everyone's always been motivated by the for-profit, but I feel like this generation is more specifically, cares more about, I should say, social impact. So whether that be climate change, gender equality, food security, basically any of the SDGs mentioned by the United Nations. I feel like we're much more aware of that in our day-to-day is if we start this business, yeah, we'll make a lot of money, but are we going to negatively impact people over here? So I think that's a big part that definitely differentiates us. We're much more collaborative and not as worried about, the pinnacle of the CEO climbing the corporate ladder. Just look at the way office spaces are now with the open floor plans and things like that. And then obviously everyone's switching to the hybrid work environment. And then, proof of the fact that I am now on the East Coast, being a student at ASU, finishing my degree there, running businesses and working, so like just the whole situation and environment and ecosystem surrounding entrepreneurship has changed. And I think we're more prepared to deal with that due to the chaotic things that have happened in the last 20, 30 years. And being able to pivot is important. And I think we're able to do that. Plus we grew up with the digital age and the entrepreneurial mindset. We've seen the Elon Musk, we've seen the Zuckerbergs, we've seen all those situations growing up. And it's much more in the social media influencers, and it's an entire mindset, I think, that we have and are more comfortable. And the last thing I'll say is we're more willing to fail, I think, with our endeavors. So again, we grew up recording ourselves, doing silly videos and posting them. Our grandparents and our parents probably cringe to that, like exposing themselves and putting themselves out there. So growing up in that generation, I feel like you are more willing to put yourself out there and go out on a limb, which is very important to an entrepreneurial mindset. Is don't be afraid to fail, because you find out more in your failures than you do your successes. Thank you.
Thank you guys for those wonderful answers. I think that I'm sure our audience is really interested in all the things you guys had to say. It's very interesting to hear you guys agreeing so much on similarities that we all have. So I hope that there's some people in the audience that can attest to that and agree as well. So going again in the same order that we've been answering questions, we have another one. So what has inspired you guys to just start? And then Angela, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I, growing up, knew I always wanted to be in fashion. I came from a big family of 5 sisters, 1 brother. And so I was a middle child, so always got, those thrifted outfits that my sisters outgrew, and I always wanted to change them. And I think right out of high school, I didn't feel like going to fashion school was accessible to me. So I, took the safer route, which I think, is definitely one thing I would want to share with other entrepreneurs is, follow your passion, follow really where you are going to obsess over and, just want to be inundated with it all the time. And that's why I'm back here today. But just knowing that how much I had grown up around thrifted clothing and how, there used to be a stigma around thrifted clothing. And now it's the resale industry has grown vastly over the last 10 years that, designer brands are now starting to, buy back some of their products because they're seeing that those products still have longevity and, brand value and affinity groups. And so wanting to still be in the fashion industry, but knowing that, hey, maybe becoming the next Alexander McQueen or, Oscar de la Renta is maybe not in the cards, but I could still contribute a solution that will benefit, the future generations and benefit, my son of, knowing how to upcycle clothing, especially, back in the 70s when they offshored a lot of those practices to other countries, which has had such a devastating toll on that. And I think that if you're really interested in fashion, there's a lot of research around, some of the practical implications that, having this kind of industry in other countries does to their people and their land and whatnot. So I won't get into that, but I think just wanting to be involved in the fashion industry and kind of taking a different approach, because the path was not traditional for me. My background is in marketing and event planning, and most major brands and retailers are out of New York or LA, and so this was my way of getting involved in the industry.
That's a really good answer. So again, as Angela said about following your passion and grit, I think it's really important. But we also have to somewhere connect the commercialization aspect of it together with the whether it's a for-profit or a non-profit organization that you are running, to keep the process going. We somewhere need to connect that with commercializing it. And as James said about in his answer, that the social impact side of things on SDGs or ESG goals by United Nations, there is a key problem and a huge concern over there. So at Philanthropy, we found the data that more than 70% of total corporate funding doesn't reach the last stage, which is meant for it. And it is really crucial on the CSR, the corporate social sustainability responsibility side of things. That's why we are creating Philanthropy in order to reach to the last step with an efficient process. And for Cellulab, it was very clear through my hitchhiking trip from Vietnam to Cambodia that having an access to internet and equity to internet is really important for the whole world. And that's why I wanted to initiate this change on equitable internet so that they can create quality outcomes for themselves.
Yeah, and adding on to that as well, for my project focuses on people who have been previously incarcerated. And for me, I have like personal ties to that. I've had family members that have been incarcerated. So I think I always kind of like had this idea in my head that I'd want to do something to benefit people post-incarceration, just because I saw how difficult of a transition that was for family members in my life. And so I think the idea was always there, but there was never like the okay, I'm gonna do this, or like I like the belief in myself to be able to actually like make something possible. And so when I heard about the Clinton Initiative and being able to get backing and funding from an organization like that, I was like, why not? Like let's just see. It can't hurt to try. And then I ended up getting the backing, and I think once like I saw that other people like also believed in my idea, I think that was like the catalyst to be like, okay, now I'm actually going to be able to like do this, to be able to follow through on what the idea I've had for a while to make it come to life.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Devarshan and I were throwing around the word SDG, that stands for Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 goals defined by the United Nations. And then there's a certain timeline that they want to be able to hit these different goals like poverty and gender equality and things like that. I like to do the little jargon giraffe that if we throw around too many terms there. As far as what inspired me, honestly, it was, I grew a little frustrated. After working on some different problems, I kind of figured out like what it's like, it's either so simple, or why doesn't this exist already, or something like that. So it's honestly just a sense of frustration. And then after doing my research and stuff, found out that, maybe it's something that I could try to help. Obviously working for yourself and, getting a profitable enterprise is a good thing. But as far as what really inspired me, honestly, full disclosure, it's me being frustrated with the current situation and then trying to improve upon that. And then once really deep diving into that, I kind of found out that this is something that I fell in love with. Really being able to, be my own boss and be able to try to make the biggest impact that I could. And then I kind of went from there. I kind of now have my many irons in the fire, if you will, with 3 different things I'm trying to do, plus work at school. So I will also say this, it's something that I found that there was kind of 2 things, because I did notice there was a question in there, and I'll kind of hit on that a little bit as far as the mindset goes. So one thing that I found myself doing was eventually like thinking of things every once in a while, right? And then what I'd do is I'd write these things down. And then over time, I found out that I kind of like had a more holistic idea about the whole situation. But what I would say, what I would recommend is to just get after it, to just get started. Because again, you won't find out what you need to do or what you're missing until you actually kind of take that inspiration and don't try to get too many ducks in a row and do all your due diligence too much. You need to start, and then I recommend just getting after it, and you can kind of figure it out from there. Especially if you're just by yourself or with a small team to get something started. It's very rare that you're just gonna like all of a sudden be a Fortune 500 company with like 3 people. So you do need to just get started right off the bat and just get after it. It's my recommendation. Thank you.
So Angela, I do have a question for you. First, I want to say I love how you're representing your brand because you're giving me fashion. Love the sleeves, very nice. But I want to know, hearing about your different degrees, is there one in particular that has like aided you in your entrepreneurial journey?
I think that education is so empowering. And for me, I thrive with going to school, structure, deadlines, dates. But I think beyond, going to an educational institution, it's just having that desire and obsession to learn about everything. And so I think, listening to podcasts, taking different courses, like I listened to a YouTube video that Virgil Abloh had at Harvard. I would have never thought to do that in college. I'm being honest, but I get chills just thinking about it, because you get so many nuggets of advice from people who have, gone and done this amazing thing that, you can only dream of. And so I think that aside from, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, cross-section interdisciplinary subjects, as some of the other panelists had said, and just belief in yourself, like James had said, I think that, you have to believe in your own business venture. And I think that's, it does to a certain extent become, that obsession and that passion, but you just want to see it happen. And, I think that, that's important. So just continue to have that, curiosity, I would say.
Thank you. Devarshan, we have a question for you. So since both of your ventures have developed in Venture Devils, what is the most beneficial advice that you have received throughout your time in Venture Devils?
That's a really good question. So yes, Philanthropy and Cellulab both were initially funded by Venture Devils and also developed throughout the process of applying, winning, and again returning to Venture Devils. I think there are 4 to 5 things that Venture Devils has helped with a lot of on a lot of aspects. First is access to mentors who are in the industry currently and working with few boards here and there, and with really big companies. second is the initial capital that Venture Devils is able to provide us with. So with Philanthropy, we got $20,000 in funding for this spring round, and it was I think sufficient for us to run through for a few months. And then because of us getting that funding, we were able to raise another round from another grant / non-dilutive round from Intel and NXP. And then now we are in talks with a private investor who will be helping us raise the second round for Philanthropy. And I think that the initial capital is really important for building a trust factor and also validating your product. I think the third most important is the human capital, which we are able to access through resources like Startup Tree and Venture Devils. As Angela said, that selling your dream or vision is important, and the first salesman that you hire for your startup is yourself or the founders that sells the vision to employees and interns or maybe early employees or maybe a co-founder. So I think the human capital aspect is also accessible through Venture Devils. And the fourth, I think, is finding the market. So Venture Devils really helps you find your initial hypothesized customers to find the market. As you know, Cellulab's idea was found in Vietnam to Cambodia, like between that geographical area, but it wasn't the right market. The market was United States, where people have access, where there are some people who have extra access to the internet, and then some people who don't. So there we can find an equilibrium in this geographical market. So yes, I think these are a few things that I think that are important.
Savannah, since your social change project, Beyond the Garden, assists people post-incarceration, can you tell us about how you identified and built relationships with people you offer your services to?
Yeah, so it's called Beyond the Garden because I have been working with an organization, a nonprofit called Tiger Mountain Foundation, and they create community gardens in South Phoenix for neighborhood beautification, but also for it's South Phoenix, it's a food desert, so to provide local produce, to provide they have plots of land in which they sell to local farmers. The farmers buy the land, they create their own products, and then they go sell it at farmers market. So the breadth of what Tiger Mountain Foundation does is quite a lot. But they also have a sector in which assists people post-incarceration. And so I have been working there now for 3 years. And the idea kind of came up as I was just naturally in conversation with people and continued to hear the same challenges that people post-incarceration were facing. And the number one issue that people would continue to bring up was, man, like I can't get a job, or like if the jobs I'm trying to apply for, like I don't meet their qualifications and I don't know where to get certified and I don't have the support or the backing or the money to or time to do those things. And after hearing that enough, I worked on my senior thesis, doing research specifically at the garden on that specific issue to then have data to back up what I was hearing anecdotally. And now I'm using that data and implementing it to actually create the workshops. And so I never would have done this, or the workshops never would have came into place if I just went into the community and I was like, hey, I think this is what you guys need. Like not have talked to anyone, not have built relationships, not have worked there alongside them for years, not have done any of that. It never would have worked, right? Because people are like, who's this outsider telling us what we need to do? We don't know you. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to adapt what you're implementing here. And so I think that that's one, it's just like being patient and taking the time, and to genuinely caring about the end product to make it something that's sustainable and not just short term as a quick fix to a larger issue. So yeah.
That's
Thank you so
great.
much, Savannah. That was awesome. James, so we have a question for you as well. So since you have mentioned that you started both of your ventures in Arizona at ASU, you then mentioned that you had moved away to Washington, DC. So how have you been able to maintain working on your startups while being in a different state?
It's been a journey, to say the least. Luckily, the age we live in now, a lot of things are done digitally and remotely. So as far as the, I want to say, like, background logistical nuts and bolts part of the business has not been that difficult for me, because it's all done on online portals and things like that for your SAM registrations and all that. By the way, Devarshan, congratulations on your two funding, what, the 20,000 from ASU, then the non-dilutive, and now you're working with, I'm assuming, a VC maybe. That's awesome. That's great. I need to get there at some point. I'm actually currently working on my my SIBR and SITR grants right now with NSF and NIH, which is another opportunity I recommend everybody do, is get into the grant for small business innovation research, the SIBR and SITR grants, which this is coming full circle here, I promise. When I first moved to where I live now, in Alexandria, Virginia, I moved there sight unseen. I had to move from Phoenix to Washington, DC, basically within a couple weeks. I could not go to, like, find apartments, so I just moved to the most whatever convenient place I could with where I was working. And a couple weeks later, I was walking down the sidewalk and saw a beautiful building, and I looked up and I go, holy, wow, that's the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and I had patents like waiting to be approved. I wanted to go and, like, not, hey, approve my stuff. I wanted to, and it was right there. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is the organization that has approved every patent from, Tesla cars to the light bulb to algorithms for Google, and there it is. And I live literally a couple hundred yards away from the office. So I found that it was very inspiring, and I thought that was really cool that I started my journey in Phoenix on these companies professionally in my career, got, this job in DC national security, which I'm very proud of, and I'm very patriotic and stuff like that. So I was happy about that. And then, found the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office right outside of where I lived, and it was that was a crazy experience. So little funny story there, but really, I think most importantly, how I've been able to do it, I think is, and then obviously, I'm an older student, so going back, props to Angela over there, because I'm in the same boat. Going back to school to get the degree and the concentration, trying to handle these multiple startups, and then working full time as well, is definitely a difficult thing, because you're getting pulled in a million different directions at once. And I think having a good support network around you is incredibly important, whether that be your partner, whether that be your family and friends, whether that be your fur baby that you come home to and loves you no matter what happened during the day. I think is huge. So for me, I have an amazing support network with my family and my friends, who are all back in Arizona, but we talk all the time. So that has been huge for me. Just having, I guess, just the drive and determination, and as Angela said, just the conviction in your ability and your confidence in your whatever you're doing, has allowed me to just kind of do my thing. And I'm a glutton for punishment. I guess I accepted a position as a assistant director at a think tank for defense innovation a couple weeks ago. So just let's tack another one on there. But yeah, so which I'll give a plug for that if you don't mind at some point, because we are recruiting for interns and fellows. So maybe at the end I can send a link to everybody about that if you're interested in policy and stuff like that. So we have 18 different centers. And yeah, I think that's I think I've covered that. Thank you.
I believe we're going to open up for Q&A now.
I think we have one more question
Okay.
for everybody to answer first. So for our last question, we'll begin with Angela. What is one piece of advice you would like to give another ASU student entrepreneur as they work through their own entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, that's such a good question, and I'll try to keep it to just that one piece of advice. I would say just be open to trying new things. And so, like as James just said, you know, he had this opportunity, he took it, and I think that, you know, by, you know, being open to those new experiences, you never know what that might connect to. And so, yeah, that's what I would say.
I have a statistics to add for this question. So as we all know, like every 9 out of 10 startups will fail in like initial 2 years or 3 years of existence. So there's like 10% of success ratio, and versus let's say if you are applying for Harvard, then it's 4.96% success ratio of you getting accepted to Harvard even after getting, I don't know, 1600 in SAT. So I think that 10% startup ratio of success is much more greater than 5% of getting accepted to Harvard. So I don't know, I'm convinced by this theory. So maybe you should just start and try and then see of what comes your way. I mean, it would be better than a rejection from Harvard. And the second statistics might be on mostly 90% of startups fail, but 99% of founders will succeed in whatever next they do, whether they take on a job or they do their second venture or third venture. So I'm convinced that the founders, 99% founders will really succeed in their life, even if their ventures fail. Or it would be called an experience or an adventure.
Mine's similar. I mentioned earlier that it took me like a while to believe in myself and my idea that it was actually worthwhile until I got someone else to sort of say that. And so my advice would be to believe in yourself first and foremost. Like, you're the one who's going to need to sell yourself to other people. You're the one who's going to need to sell your idea. So you need to have that belief and that confidence that truly what you're doing is worthwhile, to be able to convince others as well. So believe in yourself.
Yes, amen. I was shaking my head hard there, Savannah. I think one of the things that's missed a lot, especially with tech startups, because we're a bunch of nerds, is we'll have our pitch deck and we'll have that and we'll be giving a presentation to investors or to a pitch day. And then we get so involved with the tech, we're just looking at a slide, reading text off of a slide. We're boring, we suck, we don't look like we're interested really. So selling yourself, I think, is one of the biggest, most important things you can do as an entrepreneur. So yes, have that confidence in yourself, because investors and people who are giving you either non-dilutive or whatever it is funding, they're investing in you, not just some amazing idea that you have that no one's thought about forever, right? The vast majority of what they're doing is they're like I said, investing in you. So Savannah said that was beautifully said. So I definitely am going to piggyback on that, steal a little bit of that. I think I've given a lot of little words of wisdom, so I'll just summarize quickly. Obviously, be confident, believe in yourself. 2 is just get after it and start something and start somewhere, because you'll figure out what you need. You'll find out. And then 3, use the resources that ASU has provided with Venture Devils. I would have never been able to be where I am today if it was not for ASU and Orin, Edson, and the ASU Innovation Advancement Clinic, Venture Devils, all that stuff has been a godsend for me. And then kind of helped me fully have more of a path set out ahead of me as far as what's kind of expected in the venture realm, and then with the entrepreneurship realm and ecosystem. And then, yes, when you actually get out and get after it, start doing stuff, that's when you find out gaps in your knowledge, who you should bring and work with on like, oh, I need somebody who's really good at this. Like Savannah could be really good at that. Like we should partner up on this, or we should, start a company doing this because we complement each other kind of thing. So like finding out your weaknesses and stuff like that by just getting after and getting started. Don't try to like think you're going to get to this point that you're like already prepared and it's going to be successful. You just need to start doing it, start getting after it. I would say.
Thank you guys for all of those wonderful pieces of wisdom. So now we are going to open it up to the Q&A from the attendees. If you have any questions for any or all of the panelists, please submit it through the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. And we're going to do our best to get to as many questions as we can. All right, so one of the first questions we have here in the chat is from an anonymous attendee. It says, I know that entrepreneurship is a state of mind, but how do I start building that mindset?
So I'll jump in here and just share some of my, kind of ideas. The Notes app on your iPhone or, your Pixel or whatever is a great place to, keep track of all your thoughts and, why don't we do something this way? And so I think that having that, just that, notepad to be able to share your ideas. And I think that really business startups are there to solve a problem. So what problems have you encountered in your life? I think that that's also helpful to think of, who would be interested in this service or this solution. So.
Thank you. And then Amani, do you want to ask the next one?
Yeah, so we have a question for Savannah. It says, there has been recent reporting in the Arizona Republic about the prison system abusing the prison work programs, essentially exploiting prisoners for manual labor instead of helping those prisoners acquire the skills they need, to get back into society. Is your company planning on working with the Arizona prison system or working with prisoners after they leave? This seems to be an opportunity in both areas. Okay, so we can come back to that question. The next one we have, congratulations on all of your startups. I'm a new entrepreneurship catalyst at ASU. I have a question for you all. Rods want to know, having a startup idea, which is a proven technology by me in my undergrad, now I want to make that technology accessible to everyone in a reasonable manner. It's based on renewable energy and recharging batteries without usage of solar, wind, water. They feel this technology could be available to everyone in an entertaining and multigated population. What's your approach and opinion in the contemporary markets for the above technologies? Do they seem nature friendly and profitable? I know that's kind of loaded. I can repeat it.
I can take on this. So I see that you have, I think, cracked the technology piece of it, and maybe you even are ready to roll your product. But I think the startups like this, the distribution channel or the branding is really important. It's a great, I think it could be a revolutionary product, but the distribution channel side of things is really crucial for a big scale projects like this. Maybe connecting with the small scale companies or small scale companies, but having a distribution channel would be important.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that because that's kind of sector I work in with one of my startups, but I did work in the photovoltaic industry for years. I'm interested to know what the tech is, exactly how it does that, but obviously that's not, you just piqued my interest, I guess. But so as far as, entertaining and mitigated pollution, obviously, if those are just the use cases that like you're thinking of, there's probably more out there. And so I definitely think if you get on the Venture Devils program and then they will help you be partnered with a mentor who would be experienced in those kind of industries and that kind of tech, and could probably point you in directions that you have not even maybe even thought of. Because that's definitely a thing for me, at least when I became a venture devil. Now, yes, they definitely sound nature friendly to me. Now it does say if they don't use solar, wind, or water. I mean, I guess if they're using fossil fuels, then that necessarily wouldn't be nature friendly. But if they use something else, right, that's sustainable, then yeah, I think that's a good idea, and it's something you should pursue. Just need to kind of flesh out the ideas a little bit more. Maybe apply for the Venture Devils program. I don't know how I can get my contact information to you. If there's a general chat, I can put my email in for anybody who would like to contact me after this. I'm assuming our moderators will let us know how to do that. So, and for that goes for anybody. I'm willing to talk to anybody, not just today, but in the future as well.
Thank you, James. Now that Savannah's back, Savannah, we did have a question for you. So someone wanted to know, they say that there has been recent reporting in the Arizona Republic about the prison system abusing the prison work programs, essentially exploiting prisoners for manual labor instead of actually helping them acquire the skills they need, to get back into society. Is your company planning on working with the Arizona prison system or working with prisoners after they leave? This seems to be an opportunity in both areas.
Yeah, thanks for being patient too with my technical difficulties.
Yes.
But yes, so right now it's really small. So I'm working just one-on-one with Tiger Mountain Foundation. But I do believe I have a certificate in cross-sector leadership, and I think it's really important for any venture to be successful, to be able to collaborate with the nonprofit, the public, and the private sphere. And so if my venture right now continues to grow, I think it would be wise to create at least surface level partnership with different Arizona state prisons as a pipeline for people who need services. But I never would want to partnerships with the Arizona prison system, just because our long-term goals do not align and our values don't align. But I do think to be able to get the information to the people who need these resources, to be able to access them, and to be able to know where to go, I think it would definitely be a wise choice to do in the future. But right now, since we're small, our applicant pool, that people that are interested in these services are already working through Tiger Mountain or just live in the community. So yeah, thank you for that, Daniel.
All right, thank you guys for those questions. I think we have just one last question for all of you. How do you balance being an entrepreneur and a student? And if we could start with Angela and then maybe just wrap around the same way we were answering before.
Yes, so I would say, managing deadlines and dates and having a planner really helps me, but just really, prioritizing and just really make sure that you have time to unwind and really just live in the moment as well. That's
All right, Devarshan, do you think you can answer that one as well?
Yeah, I think the delegation of task is really important at initial level. I mean, not while just the first day of starting, but at first year or maybe second year of starting, you obviously you cannot do everything on your own. So you need to sell your vision to other people and acquire resources, and then also human capital, and then build a team, build a community, and then delegate the task to be able to reach to a scale. And I think being profitable, scalable, affordable, and also reasonable is really crucial at the initial stage.
I think kind of going off of also what Angela was saying, like I think balance is really key. And one, like reaching out to the resources to support you and not feeling like you have to do it all on your own is really crucial. I didn't talk much on the resources that I personally use, but Changemaker is definitely has a wealth of resources to support you financially, with mentors, whatever your project ends up being. Or for even me, the reason why I started this was because I went through a Changemaker service learning class where I was introduced to this organization. So I think that definitely like relying on resources and balance to not feel like you have to do it all yourself.
God, that's a really good question, because I'm trying to think of some like amazing like response to what resource I wish I had that wasn't there. So I'm gonna make this more relevant to kind of like my experience here in DC. This is a very network heavy city with the Capitol Hill and all the federal organizations, stuff like that. So they have a ton of different embassies, for example. They could have like a Columbia night or an Italian night, which are fantastic because you get to get dressed up and go to an embassy and enjoy their food and drinks and culture and stuff like that. So there's a ton of these networking events. And that's a big thing here. Now, I wish ASU had things more like that, but the problem was when I was going through the full bore situation on my entrepreneurial journey was at the height of COVID. So that really didn't exist anywhere. And now that I live in DC, I don't know if ASU has those opportunities, but meeting other people like-minded, like Devarshan and I are already having a sidebar conversation that we're going to connect after this. And I've known him for 2 hours or an hour and a half. So like, and who knows what can come out of that. So again, amazing us being here today. You never know what's going to happen. So I think like those human connection stuff are important. So I think like networking events, virtual, yes, is fine. But if they hosted like monthly or maybe a couple of times a semester, like an entrepreneurial thing at the MU or at a restaurant or something like that, and they involve VC people, maybe they could have Angela and they could do like a fashion show or something like that at like a hotel or something like that, do like a meet and greet. That'd be really, really cool. And then you have people from industry and people from academia, students from all walks of life. I think that'd be a huge thing that ASU can do. So that's my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you to everyone for your questions. We have come to the end of our event and we apologize if we were not able to answer your question. We hope that you obtained some really great insight from our panelists today. I know that I did. Thank you so much, Angela, Devarshan, Savannah, and James for participating in our event. It was exciting and inspiring to hear from each of you. If you're an attendee and you're interested in exploring your own ideas, please check out our website, entrepreneurship.asu.edu, and definitely check out the links that are already listed in the chat. And it looks like our panelists have provided their email addresses and LinkedIn if you want to connect with them on a more personal level to network. Those are there for you as well. We also have our wonderful resources such as our Just Start guidebook, which is a digital downloadable guidebook to help you think entrepreneurially and explore your own ideas. I think this will be good for whoever answered the question or asked the question about how do you expand your entrepreneurial mind. This one's definitely for you. So download this one, which we have just linked in the chat. So each of you can have your own free copy. Also in the chat, you will find details and links to the Venture Devils website, so you can learn more about the program, which is what many of these panelists were talking about today. And it also walks you through how you can apply. We hope you are all inspired and encouraged to just start. Thank you for being here, and we hope to connect with you in the future.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here today.